On this episode, we're going to take these Peeps treasure chests and turn them into some diorama props. Welcome back, folks. This is Thomas, and today we're looking at these candy boxes by Peeps. Every now and then you get a good tip from some of the toy groups, and in one of the Plunderlings toy groups that I was in, someone recommended finding these treasure chests. So I went to my local Walgreens and I picked some up. And for $2.99, I think these pieces are really nice. So for a surprisingly cheap piece of plastic, it has a lot of detail from the wood grain to the buckles. I think this has a lot of potential if we just put some paint on it. Now, I've purchased these Fortnite treasure chests in the past to go well with my action figures, but they were starting at about $5. Now these have jumped up to about 20 bucks. So definitely expensive. I'm not going to be purchasing more of those, so I was really happy to find these. And as you can see, they have almost all of the same detail, so we just need to put a little work into them to get them looking really good for our displays. So as you can see, it has most of the details we need except for that middle piece. So instead of putting maybe a lock, I'll put some other kind of embellishment or detail. But I really think the only thing we have to do is start painting. So let's get to it. So I've already taken one out of the package, but just to show you what is inside, we will get this treasure chest open. So just remove the plastic and the cardboard, and then we can open up and see the treasures inside. You do get a little pack of candy, you get a coin that says Peeps on it, a keychain, and then you get a maze game. So these are the stickers that would go onto the middle piece, so there was some detail that they thought of. They didn't sculpt it in, but this is something we're going to work on. And before actually putting any acrylic paint to this, I'm going to use some primer. I have this grayish that I'm never going to use, so I'm going to use it up on these treasure chests. Then we're going to move on to the acrylic paints once those dry, and I'm going to do two different versions. So this first version is going to get this darker brown coat. I'm going to give full coverage, and then we'll work on the other one. Now I want to have some variety in the looks of the treasure chests, so that's why I'm alternating colors. So where I did the darker brown for the previous one, I'm doing this lighter tan for the second one, and then what I'm going to do is take the opposite colors and dry brush them onto each piece. So working on the lighter treasure chest first, I'm taking that dark brown paint, and that will be my dry brush, giving it a nice coverage all around, which really makes those wood grains pop. So this is looking good so far. I'm going to start working on the darker brown chest. And I'm usually a very sloppy painter, so working with smaller paintbrushes is a little bit of a test for me because I want to start working on painting some smaller items. So dry brushing these items, trying to stay within the lines of all of the metal sculpt, then we'll go ahead and start painting those with some metallics. And for my first choice of metallics, I'm going with this silver, and I'm going to try really hard to stay within the lines of all the buckles and the bolts and not get any onto my wood grain. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then we'll work on the other color for the other chest. Then I'm going to use a bronze metallic for the darker chests. So I'm going to continue using those smaller paintbrushes, making sure that I'm staying within the lines of the bolts and buckles. And then we're going to really start seeing this come together once all of the metallic paint is complete. And you can see we've taken these cheap candy boxes and already turned them into some pretty decent diorama props, and you can pretty much stop right here, but I want to add some extra details. And these circular pieces are pretty plain, but you can leave it like this. I'm going to go ahead and add a little extra layer of detail onto it. So I have a few ideas. I'm going to use some materials that I have lying around, but kind of an inspiration. I'm going to take this plunderling, and his skull mask I think would be a cool design to kind of emulate and put on the front instead of a lock. I had some craft foam lying around, so I'm just pressing the treasure chest in, making sure that the circle makes an impression, tracing it, and then I'll start drawing my design in the middle. So I'll start working on a few skull patterns and then cut them out before we can glue and paint them. So I do work with this material a lot just because it's so easy to cut. So if you're looking to cut some really flat pieces that will add that little extra layer of detail, then definitely get yourself some craft foam. I've cut out my skulls. Now it's time to start gluing them on, and then I'll give it the same coat of paint that I gave the buckles on the corresponding treasure chest. And I wasn't happy with the cuts that I did at first, but I needed to paint them to see how they looked anyway. And in the end, I just decided to start over and make some new skulls. So these second set of skulls look way better. And for the last thing we're going to do is a black wash, mixing some acrylic paint and water. We're going to apply this to both of the treasure chests, making sure that we get in all of the wood grains. And then normally I'd wipe it off after a certain amount of time, but I really want this wash to soak in. So this will get into all those nooks and crannies and crevices, and then we will just wait for these to dry. And there you have it, folks, a quick and easy project to work on to add some diorama props to your display. And I never really gave this Fortnite treasure chest much attention, but looking at it now, it's missing tons of details. So a lot of the buckles aren't painted, and if we're looking at the ones that we just painted, the Peeps treasure chest, they have a lot more detail on them. So I might go back and repaint that Fortnite treasure chest at some point. But I'm really happy with the way that they came out, and they do fit together even with that Fortnite chest, so they'll look great in a display with any of your figures. And my original intentions were to put these into my Plunderlings display, because as you can see, Zombone's holding that beer mug, and the aesthetic goes with these treasure chests, so that wood and metal and the bolts and buckles, everything just kind of came together. And that's also why I wanted to do two variations. The silver and the light brown seems to matches a lot of their props, so I'm glad that I did two different versions. And if you wanted to see how these treasure chests scale with some other action figure lines, so we talked about the Plunderlings, but Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, kind of a 7-inch scale figure, they seem to match pretty well. And then your Indiana Jones Adventure Series, Marvel Legends type size figures, these will also go well with them. So they do look great. Probably going to keep them on the Plunderlings display, but at least now I have some different diorama props for photography. And lastly, just looking at the scale of these treasure chests, comparing them to all the different variations and sizes of my Plunderlings. So from the standard character all the way up to the Plunder Strong, these treasure chests still scale well. So definitely check your local Walgreens. I see them available in other types of stores. I'll try to put the links down in the description below. But again, I think previously I did some oil drums, and those were $1 at the Dollar Tree. So maybe these will start popping up at the Dollar Tree after the Easter season. But if you do see these, definitely pick them up. This did not take long at all, maybe a couple of hours. So that does it for this episode, folks. Go out to your Walgreens, see if they have these. They might be in some other stores, but these were a great find and a super easy project to work on, especially if you are new to diorama building and you just want a quick, easy project to kind of build up confidence to get started. This one was great to work on. And if you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing. I'd really appreciate it if you did. But until the next episode, we'll catch you next time.